Hey friends and book lovers, welcome back. If you thought my February TBR was ambitious, just wait till you see my March TBR. This one is hefty, but we're excited. You know, there are more days in March, so I can probably get more accomplished. Though in February, I was in and out of work for a few other reasons, so I was able to read a little more. I don't know how I'm gonna get through this, but hopefully there are some very bingeable novels in this set of books that should hopefully get me through a bunch of them. So there are a bunch on my docket that I absolutely want to and have to read. One of those that I really do want to get through is Valor by John Gwynne. This is the second in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I read Malice back in January and I did enjoy it, but I do know that this series gets better as time goes on, especially because Malice was his debut novel, and debut novels are sometimes not the best work of an author. So I'm excited for this one. I really want to read this quartet before his new novel comes out, which is Shadow of the Gods, and I think that comes out in May. So I have like March and April to really read 3 ginormous novels. So we'll see if I get to that. I really hope that I do. That is one of my goals, but I do have goals for other series as well in the next couple months. So we'll see if I get through this. But this is one of the ones that I absolutely really do want to finish in the month of March. I can't give too much of a synopsis for this because if you haven't read Malice, then giving you a synopsis for Valor will just spoil you if you ever want to read Malice. So I would suggest that you look into this, but it is very much like a Celtic Viking type of novel, and it does center around multiple POVs, which can get confusing, but that are really interesting. And the last few hundred pages of Malice really left us in a good place, and I think the Valor is going to take us there. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to that. So if you've read this, let me know what you thought of it. I know that there's people that have been reading this recently, like I have been, and have really been loving it. The next book that is kind of like an absolute read, and mostly because it is a buddy read with a friend of mine, Kristen, and she has a bookstagram. I will link her bookstagram down below if you guys want to check her out, but she's awesome and she has some really good reading taste. One that we share is Sarah J. Maas. So we both really love her other series. We really enjoy her writing. We recently read A Court of Silver Flames and gushed about it together. So she's one of my Sarah J. Maas friends that I can talk about. And we both haven't read Crescent City 1 yet, or Crescent City yet, in the House of Earth and Blood series. I think I'm getting those things right. She hasn't read this yet and neither have I. So we decided that we were going to buddy read it in the month of March, especially since the second book is supposed to come out in November. That's what the rumor is, but I'm not sure at this point in time if there's an official date. There might be an official date that comes out a few weeks from now. Since A Court of Silver Flames is out, she can focus on the second one for this series, but as far as I know, it's coming out in November. So a goal of mine is to read this book this year anyway. If you watch my top 10 books that I need to read this year, then you'll know that this is in that top 10 or 11 list. So go check that out if you haven't seen it before. But I'm excited to get through this. I'm excited to get through this and buddy read it with someone who also likes Sarah J. Maas's work so much. It's always fun buddy reading with Kristen, so I'm excited for this. I also don't know a ton going into it besides that there's maybe angels or something. And there's winged creatures of some sort and someone named Bryce, who's apparently the main character. And from the fan fiction that I see, she's very gorgeous, but that's all that I really know is just from what I've seen in fan fiction. I'm trying to stay away from the synopsis because the less I know about a Maas book, the better it is when I go into it. So I'm excited. And if you've read this, which everybody has, let me know what you thought of it. I feel like most folks that are fans of hers have really enjoyed it. And I've also heard even folks that aren't massive fans of hers have actually really enjoyed this particular novel. So I'm stoked to love it, and I'm predicting that I'm going to love it so much. The next one is also a buddy read, and that is to get ready for the third in the series. I have never read this series before. It is my first foray into it, but since I am getting more into fantasy romance, at least ACOTAR has kind of shown me that I might really enjoy fantasy romance. And so if you enjoy that series, everyone says that you're going to enjoy this next series. And this is also going to be a buddy read with Kristen. We're planning on reading Crescent City and then following that up with From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, because we both think that we're going to enjoy it. I am excited for this one. I've heard it's slow and it is fantasy romance, but that it also has a lot of other like fantastical elements. It's not just about the romance. The romance is definitely in there. So I'm excited. I've heard amazing things. Obviously this is like a booktube darling in and of itself. So let's just hope that it lives up to that expectation, because I have really high expectations of this one. Again, I don't know too much about it. I think like vampires are somehow involved, and there's like Poppy, who's this like maiden of some sort, and it sounds very like sacred. And then there's this bodyguard of hers named Hawk, who I guess they like fall in love, but it's like enemies to lovers to enemies to lovers. It's like a very convoluted romantic story. So I'm looking forward to exactly what this book is about, because all the little tidbits that I've heard are like insane and confuse me. But either way, I'm excited to read it because I think it's going to be really interesting, and it's said that it's for Sarah J. Maas fans, so let's go. And again, a buddy read, it's also way more fun to buddy read this with a friend. So I'm excited to buddy read it with Kristen. Again, I will link her down below. Click down below if you want to find her bookstagram. She is awesome. And then to follow up Blood and Ash, because the third one is coming out in like April or something, or May, I think it's April. I'm probably gonna binge read it if I like it, because we all know I love a good binge read. So I'm gonna be following that up with Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer Armentrout. I don't know if I'm buddy reading this with Kristen, but Kristen, if you want to buddy read this after we finish this one, let me know. I'll be reading this one, as I'm sure you know you will too. But I am excited. I'm hoping that I absolutely love and adore this. That way I don't have to wait too long for the next one to come out in like April or May. Because listen, waiting for A Court of Silver Flames was like, it was painful. It hurt me physically and mentally and spiritually. If I love this as much as I love that series, then waiting for this next one will probably physically hurt me again. I don't want to go through that pain. So I'm trying to make the gap as small as I can, but still excited for this series. I've heard mostly good things, couple of not so good things, but I'm mostly thinking that I will probably love this series. So again, leave your comments on below. I'm always excited to hear your thoughts on this one particularly. So the next one I want to read is also to finish off a series. In February, I had the chance to kind of read Shadow and Bone, the first one in the series, so Shadow and Bone. I enjoyed it. It was a fairly fun fluff read, and it was such a fast read for me. So I want to read Siege and Ruin, and not Siege and Ruin. I want to read Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising as like the rest of the series, because the Netflix series is coming out in like April. So I want to have these done, and they're like not as short as Shadow and Bone. They're about 400 pages a slice, but these are very easy, fluffy YA reads, and I get through them so fast. These two books will be getting done by the end of March in preparation for the Netflix series that is coming out in April. I'm pretty sure it's April. So I'm excited. I liked Shadow and Bone. Like I said earlier, it was fun. I'm excited to see where this thing with the Darkling takes us, because I've heard some things. I've been like partially spoiled for this one, but only for like the romantic elements. So I'm looking forward to how that all pans out. I'm just really ready for it. I don't want to say too much, because I feel like, again, if you haven't read Shadow and Bone, saying anything about the second or the third one is really gonna spoil you. So hopefully if you like YA reads, maybe you should check out this series, because it is easy to find and it's like a good fluffy time. I am looking forward to finishing it off, and I'm hoping that I will like it. I'm hoping that I like the third one. I've heard that the ending in this, some people really don't like it, but I'm hoping that I do like it and that I do enjoy it. So far, so good. Another buddy read that I'm doing is for the Shelf Published In. We read one book every month that has been self-published, and this one is gonna be Nightmare by Chad Nicholas. Again, I don't know much about my stack this month, but I do know that this novel in particular is a horror novel, and it's very like plot twisty, and apparently it's very thrilling and creepy. So I'm excited for that. I haven't actually read a horror novel in what seems like a really long time. I'm hoping that I will enjoy this novel and enjoy this genre, because it's a genre that I would be really curious to get more into. I do have a couple Stephen King novels that I've bought that I think would fall into like the horror thriller genre, and I think that Nightmare by Chad Nicholas does fall into that genre. The booktubers that have read this so far have really enjoyed it, especially the ones that enjoy books in that genre. So I'm hopeful that I will also really enjoy it. I have a Kindle copy, so I'll be reading it on that, but I am looking forward to it. I think it'll be really different than what I've been reading for this past year, but I'm excited to support a new author and read something that's outside my comfort zone this month. The other book I'm reading is Song of Insurrection by J.C. King. I am reading that like end of February, early March, and I'm gonna have a review up on this channel soon for that novel. So in the case that I don't finish it in February, I'll be pulling that along my TBR for March. So that is an e-arc that I got, and I am excited to read it. I read about 10% of it now, and so far so good. I think I'll enjoy it. I'm not sure how much I'm going to like absolutely love it, but I think I will enjoy it. The cover for this is absolutely stunning. It is exactly what drew me into the story and exactly why I wanted to read it, because I hadn't heard of the author before this. So I'm excited to see what her writing is like, what her work is like, and how this story unfolds, because right now I'm a little nervous for our main character. I like don't want her to have the life that she's like on the track to have, because that makes me like anxious, but I'm hopeful that things take a more adventurous turn for her. So I am hopeful, and you guys should be able to hear about that in my February or March wrap up, depending on where it falls, but probably my March wrap up. There is one last book that I want to add. This is part of another buddy read, but I am not sure if I'll get to it this month. I'm hoping that I will, because it's one that's been on my docket for such a long time, and buddy reads are a great way to kind of get books read, is what I've noticed anyways, and it is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I like died to get this cover. It took me so long to find. I think it's a Waterstones exclusive, and I don't know why, but Waterstones, whenever they do like sprayed edges or stenciled edges or like different covers, they always do like a bang up job. So I am so happy that I got my hands on this. It is so gorgeous. I think this is a book about books and stories, and I think that will really be something that I really like, because I do typically like bookception as a plot. I've heard that it can be kind of slow, can be kind of prosy, so I'm a little nervous about those parts, but I think overall I will enjoy it. I don't know that it will be a 5-star read, but I think it should be like at least a 3 or 4-star read for me. I'm hoping for 4 stars because I do already know that I like Erin Morgenstern's writing. I'm hopeful, and I'm really hoping that I can get to this for the March buddy read on Books with Bees channel. And I will link her channel down below in case you haven't heard of her or you don't follow her, but I really do enjoy her content and her channel, so you guys should definitely check her out. So that is it for my March TBR. I feel like it's really long, and I might add books here and there depending on my mood. I'm definitely going to be probably mood reading a little more this month than I have in January or February. I pretty much stuck to those TBRs the first couple months, but I think this month I might not stick to my TBR as much. I am, however, excited to get more into the fantasy romance subgenre, because that is one that I really do want to explore. I feel confident in the stack that I have here. Most of these stories do have romantic elements in them plus fantasy, so they're not all fantasy romance, but I'm excited to see like where things go, and I'm excited to see different books that I discover in that genre to hopefully maybe give you guys a list of like what I've read this year and what I really enjoyed this year in that subgenre. So I'm really excited for that. If you guys have any recs for fantasy romance or anything that I should look into, definitely let me know. I've been taking them from other bookish friends, and I have like a master list of things that I really want to read in that subgenre. Excited for these ones, and I think it'll be a really good month for me. Let me know what you guys are reading down in the comments below. I am always really curious to know what you're excited to read in this next coming month. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you enjoy my content, please feel free to subscribe, because I am sure that there are going to be videos that you will not want to miss.